side of the divide like the other paper. It was very explicit. It talked about non-alcoholic beverages. Now this is also making the rounds on the leadership. Trump arraigned for 34 criminal charges, pleads not guilty. The first time in the history of America that you have a former president being arraigned. And some people say for Nigeria, God when. That's the kind of comments you see. Bandits make fresh 100 million demand in Niger State. Now, there's a lot's been going on shortly after the election. Prior to this time, we have been having like a holiday. And just recently, again, you have all of the attacks on the high. APC governors meet today as race for 10th National Assembly intensifies, and that's what politics is about. Interest lobbying, it will definitely continue. Federal government opens second Niger bridge May the 15th and completes local auto bridge. Then gunmen abduct 8 students, village heads and wife, son in Kaduna and Kanu. That unfortunate incident that has happened. We'll just quickly run through the Nature newspaper. Federal government inaugurates 40-man panel to develop national wash policy. That's boldly written there. And just before we move away, African capable of becoming the world's first green civilization or Sibanjo. But there are also implications for this. And some people will say the politics of, for the third world, especially when you have the center controlling everything. And so you have the third world going green, and what happens. That's also speak to development and infrastructure. We'll just take a break there now. Tunde Kolawole, thank you so much for joining us. Kolawole, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about this headline that's making the rounds as to the post-election threat? That's how it's been captioned. Obi Dati, the problem might just risk treasonable charges. That's according to what the federal government is saying.
Well, honestly speaking, there is no doubt that the candidate of the Labour Party and his running mate have been making very muscular statements. And when you make muscular statements, most times the people in government will not be comfortable with that. But the question you ask yourself, in what way can one say that the statement that those two people have been making undermine the government of the Federation or constitute a threat to the peace and stability of the nation? And so many people make a very, how would I say, a very muscular statement all the time on radio and television, but nobody is accusing them of treason. Take, for example, the statement that has come from Femi Fani-Kayode, for example, the one that has come from Bayo Onanuga, and so many other persons in the APC. The truth of the matter is when President Muhammadu Buhari also lost election, that is before he won in 2015 and all that, he was also making incendiary statements all over the place. With all those statements, the then President Goodluck Jonathan did not threaten to slam treason charges against them. So if this is the case, I would want to say that it's not fair for the present government to be threatening Obi and Jackie with the treason charges. Yes, they may not have spoken as a statement. Yes, there may be some bitterness in some of the statements that they have made. But again, we want to say that most of the comments that they have made are really not far from some of the comments that have come from the APC quarter or from some of the ambassadors in Nigeria or from the international community. I would rather want to see the federal government address the issues that Obi and Dati are making, so that you can have a free, fair, and better elections in the future. That it is not the court that will be deciding for the Nigerian electorate, those who govern them.
Well, you talked about muscular statement. If we look at the definition of treasonable offense or what constitutes a treasonable offense in Nigeria, it talks about attacking a state through a form of war or trying to overthrow a government of the day. That is categorized as treasonable. On the other hand, performing acts that are related to treason is regarded as a treasonable offense, or where you have a person who instigates any foreigner to invade Nigeria with armed force is guilty of treason and is liable to punishment of death. So you have said those statements. If we look at the statement, whether they're on television or the audio that has been viral, some quotas will say that it's not true, it's doctored. But if there's anything to go by, do you think that this is a treasonable offense when you look at the definition, what the definition of treason is against a country, especially in this context, Nigeria?
No, I don't think so. The statement may be, like I said, muscular. They may not be like the statement a statement should make. But I don't think that those statements are capable of undermining or threatening or leading to the overthrow of the government. I don't think so. They are statements that are coming from citizens who feel deeply injured, who feel deeply deprived. Rather, it is those who rig the election, it is those who undermine the election, it is those who suppress their voter, it is those who didn't allow Nigerian people to have a free and fair election that could be said to be treading on the part of treasonable felony.
Tunde Kolawole, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
So what would be the rationale of the government, especially when you have comments from Lai Mohammed? How would you describe that? That such statement will be put. Do we classify that as hate speech? What exactly do we describe such comment coming from the government, especially when you look at what a treasonable offense is against a country?
Well, it's not impossible that Alhaji Lai Mohammed has made those statements to kind of put water on those incendiary statements to dampen them. It's not impossible. He intended to use those statements as a kind of caution against Dati Mohammed and Mr. Peter Obi. Many times, most government and security people will not want to wait until the situation starts boiling over before they start finding ways and means to curtail some of those dangers. It's like reminding those two people that they should be aware of what they are saying in order not to further heat up the policy. So further heat up the policy. That's the way I see it.
All right, then quickly on the Punch, this is very interesting, and it talks about foreign investors who shun states like Kano, Rivers, Ogun, and 24 other states in Nigeria as our investment fell by 20.47%. That's $1.3 billion from $6.7 billion in 2021 to 3.33 billion naira. Dollars, I beg your pardon, in 2022. What exactly do you think that could be responsible for this particular behavior from foreign investors when you look at this states and the states that are also attracted foreign investment in the country? They say these states include, you have the likes of Oyo State, among others, Ondo, the FCT, Anambra, Ekiti, and Akwa Ibom, Plateau, Katsina, among others. So what exactly could have been, a plus for the states that attracted investors and those that, didn't attract investors?
Well, the truth of the matter is that the business people are very sensitive people. They look at so many things before they start investing their money and resources in any particular location or environment or state or country. Some of the things that they look at is the ease of doing business. Is it easy to do business in this environment? Will people not be asking me for gratification before I invest? If there are infractions, if there are issues that have to be resolved by the court or by the justice system, will I get justice seamlessly? Will the court decide my case fast enough so that money, energy, resources will not be tied down? Of course, too, they look at the state of security in some of these states. So, the ease of doing business, security, the legal system in that kind of environment with regards to ability to dispense justice in a free and fair manner and a very expeditious manner all contribute a great deal into influencing the decision of the businessmen to invest in any environment. And furthermore, you and I would also know some of these states, some of these governors are better marketers than the others. We know of some of them who travel around the world trying to woo investors to their states. Because investors will not just come, they must do some things. We must make some offers to them, maybe in terms of easy land acquisition, in terms of being able to get a share of whatever land that they acquire, to do their to build their industries, to build their factories, and to do farming. These are some of the issues that, so for some of those states that have been able to attract bigger investments, it could be that they have been able to improve on some of these things. And those that have not been able to, it could be that they are slacking or they are slack in some of those areas, or that there is insecurity around them, or they are not doing enough marketing, so that's the businesses in their states and what have you. But the tragedy of the whole thing, and the most important in my humble opinion, is that in a country in which unemployment has been said to have risen to about 3%, it's a double jeopardy for us. If again, investments are falling in our country. And it's important that both the state and the federal government do something to curb those faults in the investment that have been attracted to the different states of the Federation.
Well, I'd like to ask you also, this is also making the rounds on different papers. What lessons can Nigerian Africans learn from the arrest of former President Donald Trump as regards, crime? He's been arrested. Of course, he's pleaded not guilty. What exactly do you think that, other democracies, especially of the third world, can learn?
Well, you will see that part of the reason that America is able to make progress, part of the reason that China is making progress, part of the reason that Great Britain is making progress is because they have put in place the wherewithal to enforce the law against both the tiger and the fly. No matter who you are, if you commit a crime or an infraction, they have a way of bringing you to justice. It is unlike here in Nigeria, in which it is only the fly that get caught in the web of justice. I'll give you an example. During the Okuta panel, General Ibrahim Babangida was invited to appear before the Okuta panel, simply because his name kept coming up throughout the proceedings of that panel. But lo and behold, General Babangida refused to appear before the Puta panel. Rather, he rushed to court to restrain the Puta panel from compelling him to appear before it. And the court gave him that injunction. And then again, you will remember, there was a time General Olusegun Obasanjo was also dragged to court. I think it was some 2 police officers who dragged General Obasanjo to court. They went to his farm to conduct a search to arrest some of his, or 1 or 2 of his vehicles that were said to have broken traffic rules and regulations. But when they got to the farm, I think they were beaten up. And some of those policemen, or 1 of them or 2, lost, got their teeth broken and all. So when he was dragged to court and all that, and the court, I think, said he should appear before, he refused to appear. That guy also went to court, and court went and declared that Obasanjo is an institution. You cannot just take him to court like that. So, when you look at all these scenarios, and of course, do you remember the former governor of Cross River State, I think, also when the EFCC wanted to take him to court, he went to another court and got an injunction, a perpetual injunction, restraining the EFCC from arresting and trying him. So if you have this kind of 2 parallel approaches to the justice system, you and I will want to say that the lessons to be learned from what is happening to Donald Trump is above the law. And until Nigeria is also able to enforce its law against both the tiger and the fly, then we might not be creating a conducive environment for all citizens to thrive. We also, in a way, be undermining our own justice system and sending the right to the rest of the world, which is not too good for us as a nation. Take the election that we're talking about. Basically, every election season that we have in our country today, the winners of the election have to be decided by the Election Petition Tribunal, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. That is not right. That is anathema. It is the voter that will decide who governs them, who rules them, who manages their affairs. But it's been the opposite in Nigeria. Since this democracy started in 1999.
Let's quickly look at the leadership now. The leadership is about Tinubu and the headhunt for best brains, competence for appointment. Now, there are some names that have popped up in the list of all of this. I'd like you to share your thoughts on that. Sanusi is there, Gbajabiamila. We can't actually say for what position they are considered for, but you have them. You also have El Rufai. You have the likes of Akume, Fayose, Fayemi, and the list is almost endless. Adeye is also here. I mean, looking at these names that have, popped up as the list for consideration, what do you make of this? Best brains and competence.
The first question I want to ask is, has the list been confirmed to be emanating from Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Because too many times you find speculation, you find rumors creeping into both the conventional media and the social media. Until those lists are really confirmed, whatever we say about by the man who is said to have made the list, who will just be making speculation on those lists. But be that as it may, let me say this. When you look at those names, they are names of people who have been managing our affairs since 1999. If all of them are being the ones carrying the responsibility of managing of our affairs since 1999, and the country has sunk to this level, then you want to say that that might not be appropriate list to make Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu if he's really serious in taking the country out of the quagmire it has found itself today. You need fresh brain. You need clean hands to manage the affairs of this country. The problems are quadrupled in the areas of unemployment, in infrastructure, in security. You look at Rufai, for example. Rufai, Kaduna State, has been the most ungovernable state in the country in terms of security. So what preaching, what would Rufai be putting on the tables of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Look at the Fayose and Fayemi. What is the performance of Fayose and Fayemi in Ekiti State? In what ways have they developed their state? All of them have had 8 years of ruling Ekiti State. And to the best of my knowledge, I have traveled to Ekiti. It is not better than when those two people took over power in Ekiti State. It was a similar thing to some of these other people whose names are popped up on that list. If Nigeria is going to be liberated from unemployment, if Nigeria is going to have or be able to pay the mountain of debt that it is carrying on its head today, if Nigeria is going to be recognized, respected in the international community as one of the fastest growing economies and all that, then Asiwaju will need to look outside some of those names that you have mentioned, like Obasanjo did when he was in government. He went for people like Okonjo Iweala, the man in African Development Bank, and then he went for people like, I forgot some of those names now. Even Soludo, he brought people like Soludo on board, and so many other fresh hands. And we saw some changes. At least our debts were forgiven. And then Nigeria started on the path of economic growth. That is the way I see it. And all these tired, worn out, and exhausted politicians, if all those ones come, it will just be another job for the good boy, and not necessarily the kind of reward seeker for those who have helped him to get to power, and not necessarily people who can really lift Nigeria out of the woods.
I mean, what could it be responsible when we look at the Punch newspaper away from that now? The fact that cash circulation probably seemed to be low despite all of the directives and the commitment from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The NLC is also still saying, hey, we might still picket your offices. That stands after the ultimatum. I'd like to share your thoughts on that. What do you think could be responsible for, the circulation of cash? We're not even talking about the old Naira notes now, the new Naira notes. We're talking about the old ones. What could be responsible? And do you see the NLC embarking on that strike in no time and picketing just like they have promised?
So many things could be responsible. Like I said on this program before, the damages that have been on the Nigerian economy by that Naira design strategy is going to be with us in the next 10, 15 years. It might take up to 15 years for us to be able to get out of it. So many small businesses have collapsed. Individuals have lost their lives. Confidence in the Naira has been undermined. For international community too, they will be looking at us as a country that is not stable in terms of monetary policy. When last did you hear that America is redesigning or changing its currency? When last did you hear that Germany is redesigning and changing its currency? The only country that has changed their currency recently is Great Britain because of the death of the Queen. And they now have a king, so they have to replace some of the pictures of the Queen that is on their currency with a picture of the king. And that is the only reason that they are redesigning their currency. And even the one that they are redesigning, the old currency, they will still be in circulation over some years until they are gradually taken out of circulation. So with regards to the challenges that the central bank may have, in really getting enough money into circulation? And there are many. One is that, part of the reason the embark of that Naira design strategy is to curb inflation and all that, reduce the money in circulation. So if that was the intendment and all that, they would not want to pump as much money into the system as we used to have before they redesigned it, in order not to jeopardize that project of reducing the money in circulation and then using monetary policy to curb inflation. Secondly, too, when a currency is withdrawn from circulation, they are not kept in default anymore. Most times, they destroy them. So if when the CBN was withdrawing those money, it had burnt or destroyed the old currencies and all that, then it will be difficult to really be able to get all those monies back into circulation. And of course, too, you and I will know that the processes of injecting currency into circulation is not just a thing you do overnight. A lot of procedures are involved. The banks must make a request, and the request that the banks will make will be based on the request of their own customers too. Of course, to the business community. People who also want to borrow money to finance one project or the other. But who is borrowing money now? Who wants to start a new project with all the turmoil that we have in the system? The elections came. It wasn't as peaceful as we wanted. The federal government is also saying that they want to do the census. And all these things will cost money. All these things also have the possibility of destabilizing the economy, of destabilizing even the society as a whole. So most people are doing a kind of wait. Let's wait and see. It's going to happen. So that has kind of dampened what we used to have in the economic environment in the country. So this may be some of the challenges that is hampering injecting sufficient funds into the system. If they rush to inject enough money into the system, yes, what they had intended to achieve by withdrawing the whole currency in terms of curbing inflation and reducing the money in circulation, the objective would have been defeated. Which consequences you better imagine. Furthermore, you ask me whether the labor people still required to go on site. I think they should have embarked on site long ago, even though the CBN has made its decision on the redesigning of the notes and whatnot, and it's gradually injecting more money into the system. But there must be accountability. The monetary policy that has led to the collapse of businesses, that has led to the death of citizens and what have you, that is going to have consequences in the economy in the next 15, 10 years. You don't just wish that away. People in the CBN, people in government have to be accountable. They must be brought to justice. We must ask them questions. Who did what? From where this tragedy got inflicted on the Nigerian nation? So, even though they try to remedy the situation, the need to insist on accountability is enough for the labor people to embark on strike. You can't inflict all this period on the nation and still be sitting pretty on your offices. You can't inflict all serious injury on the nation and then you will not be held accountable. So that extent, I want to say, the strike to be embarked by labor.
Tunde Kolawole, just as we coast this conversation down on Off the Press, I'd like to ask you if you align with the thoughts of the former CBN governor, Sanusi, who says that Niger is more divided than we were, during the Civil War. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I agree with it in so many areas. Look at the animosity between the Yoruba and the Igbos. We weren't, the only time we saw that happen was during the Nigerian Civil War and the Civil War, and a few months before the Civil War. The Yoruba who have always been held on the work, who have done a lot of intermarriages, who have joined businesses all over the place and all that, are now pointing accusing fingers on themselves. Furthermore, you go up north, especially Kaduna, and then the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt people are not comfortable with the result of the elections that we have had. And there is resistance in those parts of the country. I mean, for now, very many Nigerians from the southern part of the country are not having as much as they would do with the northern part of the country. And you also find out there are some people from the northern part of the country who still have this let's wait and see attitude. So going about their usual and regular business in the different parts of the country. What most people are saying is that, look, let's wait until the new president is inaugurated, the new governor, the new senator, House of Reps, and House of Assembly members are inaugurated. And we see what will happen before we begin to get back our life in a very gradual manner. I agree with Emir Sanusi or former Emir Sanusi that Nigeria is more polarized and more divided because of the unconscionable action of the Nigerian politicians and those who hang around them and those who speak up for them and those who campaign for them. Certainly, religion has become an issue in Nigeria. Certainly, tribe has become an issue in Nigeria. Certainly, the regions in which you come from has become an issue. For God's sake, it wasn't like that before the last election were conducted.
Well, we have to let you go at this point in time. Thank you so much. We just hope that we're able to fan the ember of unity and that of, progress, in diversity and not that of disunity. Hopefully, we'll just get to that point where we understand that we're one and it doesn't matter what language or what location or wherever it is that we find ourselves. But the beautiful thing is that we're Nigerians. That's it. Thank you so much, Tunde Kolawole.
Thank you for having me.
We have been speaking with Kolawole, who has been a guest on the show this morning. He's a legal practitioner right here in Lagos, and he's shared his thoughts on the papers this morning. We'll just take that break. When we return, we'll head straight to our first conversation here. We ask that you stay with us. Good morning.
Our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Right, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
You are one family. There's no dream of this sport in Nigeria.
See how your body just dripping diamond.
My ID starting salary is 150, and I believe in every company, if they should be paying individual or average Nigerian people to be collecting that such amount of salary, I think it will be beneficial for the citizen.
I would say a typical Nigerian working on a day-to-day job, I would say my salary will be nothing less than 70 to 80,000 naira. Because of my skills, I would say I'm a professional cleaner, though I own a cleaning company, but because of my skills and everything, I would say my salary will be like, if I'm working for someone, it will be like 70 to 80,000.
Presently, our ideal salary is 100,000. My best work experience is a sales consultant, and I love the work presently now, and the work is making me to have boldness to talk to people. Like, I've gone to several places that I've never been before. I've talked to people that's not even up to my caliber. and I've mingled a lot with kind of big men.
At least with the recent condition of this our country, if the minimum wage should be between a region of 60,000, at least for a start now, compared to the inflation we are facing now, the cost of living, accommodation, and other charges. So at least for a start, 60,000 is not bad.
To me, probably if I see like 180,000 naira is manageable, that's as the way the country is right now. It's better than just sitting at home or for me to being frustrated and misbehaving. So instead of that, so let me just doing it. At least I can see at the end of the day, I won't be able to save anything down. I'll be able to use it to eat. That's all.
If you pay me 1 billion naira, I will not mind. If you pay 1 million a week, I will not mind. But the point remains, we are running an economy that ought to have grown. I don't belong to the class that say a growing economy. We ought to have grown. We are an overfed baby as far as Nigerian economy is concerned. Howbeit, given the society we are in today, some of the boys, I call them boys, at the National and even the State Assembly, and close to 2-3 million naira a month. So for some of us who've paid our dues, especially in the media, if going by the standard of living in this country today, 1 million naira will not be a bad idea.
My ideal working salary has been from 200 to 400 to get, and that's what I prefer to always get from any company, because I'm always a strategist. I render solutions to companies on how the company can move ahead as well there.
Abraham, Moses, Jacob, you are one family. There's no doing all this sport in Nigeria.
See how your body just dripping diamond.
We're back with the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We'll just continue with the conversation, just as we'd promised, the issue of security in different parts of the country. I mean, it's like just after the election, there seem to have been pockets of attacks and the fact that a lot of Nigerians have lost their lives in the course of this. Now, just a few days after the Kaduna state government announced an immediate imposition of 24-hour curfew on Sambo Giri area of Chinko local government area in Kaduna State, bandits also have abducted 10 secondary school students in Kaduna. Now, the State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Awona, confirmed the incident in a statement that students of government secondary school, Awon Day Secondary School to be precise, were kidnapped. That was on Monday. Now, while in Adamawa, the State Commissioner of Police, CP Afolabi Babatola, has confirmed a reported attack on Daban community in Hongkong local government area. Now in Taraba, at least 15 civilians were killed in this latest attack by bandits in the state. The spokesperson for Taraba State Police Command, Usman Abdullahi, confirmed the attack. Now, going to Kogi, suspected herdsmen invaded a local community of Kogi State. That's the north central part of Nigeria. The attack is coming days after there was an invasion in a certain community. It's called Edede community, where 10 people were reportedly killed and several houses burnt. The incident was confirmed by the Kogi State Security Advisor, Jerry Omor Dare. Now, more than 30 civilians have also been killed. There are reports to the fact that 30 civilians have been killed, and the United Nations had also condemned this particular act by terrorists suspected to be members of the Islamic State of West Africa in Borno. That's in March 2023. But just to understand why this is happening, after a very long time when we feel like we have gotten control, we felt like we were in charge, and then all of a sudden we're having these attacks. We have Austin Edgar, who is a security expert. He joins us this morning from Ibadan via phone. Austin, it's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Austin, I'd like you to share your thoughts on, the recent one. 10 students have been kidnapped. It's been confirmed by the police public relations spokesperson in Kaduna State. How does this make you feel when we have been grappling with that from a very long time? And the issue of, the Chibok girls, we can't forget about that.
Well, first of all, we have to look at the foundational ideology of terrorism. Whichever name they take or whatever form they take, bandits, headsmen, we still know they are all formations of terror. There are factions or branches of the big three that we already know, which is ISWAP as the name goes right now. And we see that if we can truly place the foundation at which terrorism is set up, it is the society places the word in quote success, and they expect every citizen to act in a certain manner to be successful by the laws and the norms that are laid down in the society. But when some certain people cannot obtain that success by what the government have laid down, they fall out from the society and form a group or a government inside another government. This is the general principle of terrorism. Now, from the electioneering time, there was expectation that probably they will get a candidate of their choice. From all the states that you have mentioned, there were interests of who they expect to be their leader or their governor. Within this period, there were also a heightened security alert from all those states. We saw surveillance operation of all the military and the intelligence community working to ensure the safety of everybody in this community. But now there is a lack in security. As you can see, all the law enforcement and the military enforcement have returned to their various units and their formation. And they see this gap for them to unleash this terror attack again. And now, they don't want to feel defeated following the current rating of terrorism in Nigeria from a position of 6 to 8. They don't want to feel defeated. And they still want to establish their presence by creating so much panic in the country. Generally, that's what we are seeing from all these states.
All right, so Edgar, you have a school of thought, and if you look at it in its real sense, you probably might want to align with it. It's that with the Naira redesign policy, it felt like, this element, the bandits, the terrorists, and those Boko Haram, what have you, were really out of business for a time. But they all of a sudden have been up. And then it's a time where we have, the Naira in circulation. Not entirely, but there seemed to be some sort of improvement from what we have experienced. And some people think that there might just be a connection with, the sponsors of this act who resisted, this particular policy, went to court, and of course, their intentions or their desires have been met. Do you agree with the school of thought saying that there might just be a connection with those who protested against this policy and the fact that we have the Naira in circulation now and the uprising of these attacks?
Well, truly, you can never exclude the banking system from any kind of organizational operation, especially in the seamless operation. Every organization, be it formal or informal, be it legal or illegal, require funding. And some of this funding, especially from the criminal underworld, they depend on their black market. to do their funding. So for the time being, before the elections, we saw that the policy from the cashless possibly from CBN actually crashed some of the black markets, as we can see. The black markets could not function. Getting of arms was not possible for them. And of course, funding their operations in any way, it was not possible. So it is actually, in my own take, I feel that the cashless policy in Nigeria has been delayed for too long. Though it came in a very good force for us that was not comfortable for the society, but it's something that's supposed to be a part of us more than 10 years backwards to have been implemented.
Okay, but I mean, just looking at it now, and I'd like you to also share your thoughts on this one. Security votes. Now, we also understand that, you know, the financial intelligence units in the country might just be having some sort of clash with governors. But again, the issue of security votes is very important. Now, with all of the states that you have security incidents happening, we have security votes, you know, running to billions that are allocated to this state governors or states, you know, however it is that you look at it. Why do we still have, you know, insecurity? Why do we still have these elements dominating and, you know, having so much power and influence despite the security vote, despite the fact that these governors are in charge of their state? It might not necessarily be constitutional that they control the security architecture in terms of the police, but there's also funding to that effect. So how then do we still have insecurity taking the front seat?
It's all about governance. You see, some of these governors, they are still very far. They are taking security for granted. The primary duty of every leader or every governor is to provide security for the people. Because without security, there is no how there will be prosperity in that state. Take a look from Lagos State. They had issues in the earlier time until they decided to formulate a police trust fund or security trust fund that we have in Lagos. And from that time, that trust fund have been able to fund many operations, security operations in Lagos, providing vehicles and so many other things that Lagos State have been able to achieve, which have the highest population, unless we still have criminality, but not like what we see in some states in Nigeria. So actually, most of these states, they have not even considered, like some state government have not even considered this, that they need to have a trust fund and entrusted into qualified hands that will help them handle the business of security in their states. I think they should be held accountable. The citizens should be held accountable. Whichever way it is, the citizens should hold their leaders accountable because they are not doing enough. Check from all these states that you can hear all this happening. I want to believe that they are not doing enough. They are only depending on the government security. They are depending on security from the police. The police have their own duties, but they can increase the security from this state by also doing their own efforts. Security is everyone's business. And so they have to fund the business of security in addition to the government security that is provided for them.
So I mean, usually there's a statement that says that if insurgency lasts more than 24 hours, the government has a hand in it. All this going on, do you think that, you know, the government of different state has a hand in the insecurity that the various states are faced with? It's really shocking.
I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I will not accept that.
Okay.
Because we see that police terrorism or any sort of violence, especially what is happening this time, it has its roots from the political system. Now, political system is not about the governor or the ruling governor only. It's for everyone that has interest on who emerges as his leader. So there are people who did not succeed in the election. Of course, they are aggrieved. And some in their mindset, they believe they should make this state ungovernable. Meaning that if everything goes wrong, the blame will fall on the ruling government or the ruling state governor. So that is why I will not truly accept 100%. It is very, very acceptable or to some extent that they could have a hand. But I do not believe in that statement in totality.
No, so you don't believe that if insurgency lasts more than 24 hours, that the government has a hand in it?
Well, I still believe that. I do not believe that.
So
and
how?
I'm entitled to my opinion.
So how then do you also explain the fact that shortly after the elections, I mean, you look at the policy of the redesign naira note, the scarcity of the naira, then all of a sudden the naira is in circulation. Then you have these attacks, head on.
Well, the attack will not be influenced by the government. From the statement you just made.
I'm asking, how do you then explain? You're a security expert. I mean, I'm not saying that you're responsible for these attacks. I'm only saying that if you look at all of these conjunctions that have been put out over time, including a former military president or head of state, that if insurgency continues 24 hours after, the government of the day is responsible for it. And then I'm asking that before the elections, when you had this policy, we seem to have experienced some level of calm, peace, tranquility, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. But then shortly after we have the naira in circulation, then again we have an insurgency. This is after you also have a group of governors who have also woken up, to protest and to say, oh, we actually went to court before this became, a yes. So again, I ask you, what could be the reason behind that? And then you don't think that the government of the day has a hand in all of this?
Well, I cannot pinpoint to the government of the day. Like I said earlier, this terrorism, the foundation of terrorism is based on political motives. That means you cannot truly rule it out from the government of the day. And at the same time, I cannot say that the government of the day that is really influencing the terrorism. Because take, for instance, the elections that happened, various candidates from different political parties contested, and some did not get what they wanted. And you don't know how they feel about it, and they have a way of expressing it. So it could be that it's from other factions that are not happy with the result of the election are fermenting this trouble by any means to credit their own displeasure about the election in the state. That is one of it. Now, on the cash crunch, it is true that we had a very peaceful environment during that period. But after the elections, everything escalated, violence escalated. Like I say, just like every other business, we all needed, even as individuals, we needed money to fund our daily lives. These people from the terror on the wall, they also need money to fund their businesses, to fund their operations. And so now they see some little hope that there have been some lack in the government by releasing some cash. Of course, they will have this cash to continue in their terror attacks. That is what we are having.
But so quickly now, let's also look at other parts of this. There's also a statement there's a statement that's been put out. It talks about the fact that we need to be electronically ready. So electronic combat readiness is up to fight against. It's very important to win the fight against insecurity, external aggression, and other threats to national peace. This is according to Dambata Umar. So I like to share your thoughts now. Do you think that why we are not winning, why we don't seem to have a control entirely, I wouldn't say, 100, why we seem not to be in charge of the situation is because we're not electronically ready in terms of combat, that we haven't been able to apply technology to combat insecurity in the nation?
Yes, I 100% agree that we are very, very far from the tech world. Because we all believe in these traditional means of security, and that is why we are getting it wrong all these years. You cannot win the current war on terror by depending on the traditional means. The technology part plays a strong and a key role in trying to destroy the capability of terrorism in all of these nations that are advanced. They also have this threat. In fact, Israel and US have the highest attack on terror against their nations. But how are they surviving till now? Because they have enhanced every capability of technology and human manpower to ensure that they protect their state. Now, taking from the situation we just observed from some state governors, they don't even see a need for them to even provide the traditional physical security for their people, not to talk of investing in technology. So it is actually, from every angle, we are not ready. Because these organizations, they get the best hands, they get the best brains, they get the best funding. They are very calculative, and they are very decisive with their decisions. If they want to attack, they will attack. If they want to fulfill their mission, they will fulfill it. But how could a nation or a state government withstand this attack? They have to be very decisive. They must have a mission at heart to ensure that from every angle, convergence in security is taken as a priority. Security convergence is that aspect that enables the techie and the traditional way of handling security to the highest level of success. But from now, we are very far. External aggression, I just cannot assess and just make my own opinion. But if we cannot handle these internal ones, then I wonder if it's coming from outside.
No, so, but I mean, I'd like to also ask you if you agree that, the challenge that we're faced with is the fact that we haven't been technologically driven in terms of combat against insurgency or insecurity. Or we're also looking at the issue of the fact that some persons in the security force have been compromised. There's a lot of compromise that has gone on. Lack of professionalism has also contributed, to the fact that we have failed in winning this war against insurgency.
Well, that cannot be ruled out. In every profession...
That cannot be ruled out, or that is actually the case. So, I mean, I want to understand if we have all of the technology in the world and then you have a lot of people who are compromising the entire process. How then do you even win this war? When you have moles in the system?
Well,
now, when you have a lot of people who are not motivated, people who are not paid the allowances, people who are not properly paid, and then you expect that they give their 100, not an excuse for bad behavior, but I'm saying that do we blame it on the fact that we're not technologically driven, that's why we have not won the war, or we also have, in the system, people who are sabotaging the entire process. Over time, there's been several reports from outside of the country where sponsors of terror have been mentioned from outside. For instance, you have Dubai. I mean, you have countries of the world who have mentioned, pinpoint and say, you have certain persons who are responsible for sponsoring terror. And then again, we seem to say it's because we're not technologically fit. We don't have all that it takes. So I'm saying that is that really what we're dealing with, or the fact that we're dealing with internal issues, that people are corrupt, that the system has been compromised, that you have a lot of people who are representing a certain interest, and the fact that we haven't been able to prosecute and follow them to the latter.
Yes. So some what we are like.
Edgar, can you hear me? We probably might just have a disconnect with Austin Edgar, but we're pretty concerned, and we have been talking about the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. Not that this is the first time we're looking at the issues where students have been kidnapped. We're talking about several killings and attacks, and we have the law that's very explicit on the issue of murder. It is, murder is murder. You don't even need a different explanation to all of this. But is it that we're overwhelmed? We have the security architecture in the different parts of, the country. We also have the fact that, governors of the state are chief security officers of their state. There will also be argument that, that's just a nomenclature. But how also do you explain the fact that security votes are allocated to them, which should be a security concern? But over time, there probably might just be a lot of excuses as to, we don't control the police. We don't control all of that. But then you receive allocation every other time. How come this is happening? How come we're also having these attacks shortly after the election? Before the election, with the policy of the CBN, redesigned narrow notes and what have you, cashless policy, we seem to probably have experienced some sort of peace. So what exactly would have gone wrong that we're experiencing what we're experiencing? And then some quarters are saying that, oh, technology is 100. And then if we have it in terms of technology, then again, we will probably have control over the entire security architecture. So I ask you, Austin Edgar, thank you so much once again for joining us. Do you think that our challenge in terms of fighting insurgency and insecurity in Nigeria is that we are not 100 with technology?
Thank you for that question. Integrated security approach will give us the solution we are looking for. For instance, we have people, technology, and processes. These are the three things you can use to handle technology. Now, from the point that you came from, yes, from the people aspect, there could be compromise because they are the one handling the system itself. And then technology plays its own role, trying to increase in terms of intelligence gathering and also leveraging another aspect that the physical aspect cannot achieve. And then we also have processes involved, processes that should never be flouted. So it is these three things that must be considered all the time in order for us to get a good security architecture. So from the human aspect, some have been compromised. They are not doing it well because, like you said, from countries like Dubai, they are pinpointing them. We want to know the result from that aspect. We are not getting result. So we are only looking from the technology aspect that this area of technology, are we also prepared? Because there are a lot of transactions. For instance, there are some issues going after election, this phone conversation with this conversation. I bet that's the only technology that we can afford for Nigeria. But for the ones that really affect terrorism, they are not looking at it. They are looking at the one between politics. But we should deal with those ones that have to do with terror that is causing insecurity in Nigeria. If they can monitor calls as what they are doing to politicians, I'm sure that is fine for us. That is applying tech to dealing with insecurity.
Well, we have to, let it go at this point in time. Thank you so much, Austin Edgar, for being part of the show. We appreciate your thoughts and time.
My pleasure.
We take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the issue of cashless policy and the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Apex Bank, is asking the traders and those who are on the other side of the divide should embrace, different payment channel, just embrace the policies, the apps and what have you, to ensure that we're part of the economy. We'll talk about that when we return. Please stay with us. It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We look at the concerns as to having a cashless economy. Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has asked commercial banks and all the stakeholders in the banking sector and calling on Nigerians to embrace the e-wallet platform recently introduced by the Apex Bank, noting that it will deepen payment options. They stated this while sensitizing the market women and men at the Edem Park markets in Calabar. The sensitization was organized by Bankers Committee with the electronic payment system. Nigerians can do their business transaction even without visiting the banks. That's, the school of thoughts. But just quickly, it would just be very simple because this conversation has been ongoing for a long time. Hussaini Olariwaju, who's the MD of the HAQ Technology Management Services. Hussaini, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Mercy.
No. So quickly, I'd like to share your thoughts on the consent of the Apex Bank, asking that the e-Naira wallet or the payment system should be embraced by traders. That's on the one hand.
Okay, thank you. So, like usual, I can see, let me use the word policies from assaulted, at this point in time. The e-Naira's solution has been on ground for the past 2 years. The question is, why are people not adopting this solution, as a means of payment, alternative means of payment? So for me, I think what we should look into more is the channel of communication and orientation. The Bankers Committee here, they're trying their best. However, the fastest moving way to ensure adaptability of policies like cashless policy that has been proven, that I'm seeing in the industry today, is through agent network. But today, this same agent network are people that are not they are just on paper considered as an important part of the financial ecosystem. But when it comes to implementation, they are not really carried along. They are not categorized. They are not really engaging, right? And again, it's not just about the bank. I think another way we can see the digitalization of financial services in Nigeria is the adoption of all this kind of innovative way the fintechs have gone about it. But today, I don't see any fintech even talking about email.
Particularly, the bankers committee sensitizing market women and men were very explicit. So it's the e-Naira platform, the e-Naira. I'm sure that you're very in the know of this particular introduction and innovation as to, the financial economy of our country. So I'd like you to speak to that one. Do you think that there's a lot of sensitization? Do you think that there's a lot of capacity in that particular regard when you talk about the e-Naira?
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, yes, it's about the approach of the sensitization, right, and the adoption of the solution. I'm trying to lay a basis where you see the adoption of other financial solutions, which is digitalized. If the same approach is used, I believe it's things that it's good. However, the Bankers Committee goes on formal way, and when you look at agent network, if agents are actually duly carried along for the e-Naira sensitization or e-Naira adoption and usage, they use their integrity, they use their influence, to explain at their own languages at their local places, to explain and let people adopt this solution. But this set of people who are not duly carried along to encourage the adoption. And I keep saying, for me, if we want to get things right, we need to understand the working channel and include this working channel to ensure we get good results in good time. Going forward, Nigerians are scared, and you have something to give them confidence, to be able to say this is what we want to go next.
So, just still in the light of that conversation, as a country, do you think that we have what it takes? Infrastructure, the awareness, favorable policies. The list is almost endless to enthrone an efficient cashless society. Not limited to the e-Naira now, but we're saying you are going to tell market women to embrace all the channels of payment, the POS machines. You also need to understand how favorable, the prices are for them to accept it, because it's not free. So I'm saying, encompassing, do you think that we have the capacity, the technology, the infrastructure, whatever it takes to run, to say we're a cashless society?
It's a good policy, but we are not yet there. When it comes to in terms of infrastructure, we still have a long way to go. We can see that within January to March, where this cashless policy was really hitting hard, even banks are failing. And another issue is how do we handle a centralized issue resolution system where it make it easy, to address. We still have pending issues as we speak in terms of this cashless policy. So we are not there. We are in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the orientation, in terms of the understanding, we are actually not there. There are still much work to be done. So beyond the policy, we also need to look into other factors like technology, which is not well grounded, capacity, technical know-how. You have people, human capacity development, infrastructure capacity, and a lot of things needs to be looked into. We are not yet there. There are still a lot of ways, a lot of things to improve on to ensure this cashless policy or any other alternative means of payment is going as expected.
So let's take it from that point on. What are the things that can be done to embrace this cashless policy? What exactly can we do? You have said that there are a lot of things that can be done. What are those things that can be done for us to say, hey, we're a cashless nation?
So first of all, we need to work on capacity in terms of technology. The technology infrastructure we have in banks today are not readily welcoming for this kind of policy. You have overwhelming load of traffic on transactions, and they can't handle it. They have to scale up, and they have to do a scale-up structure that if tomorrow they are going times 10, they should be able to accommodate that. Secondly, we need to also work on human capital development. We have a lot of people in the sector right now who have little to no knowledge of what they're doing. It is very, very necessary we address that. Thirdly, issue resolution has to be prompt. We have to centralize issue resolution where it's not like you send money from one entity to another and the other entity is claiming not to have received that money. However, the money is in that entity's position. There are a lot of issues around there. So who do you trust? So is mistrust? Who do you trust? Who is telling the truth? Who is telling the lie? So that is knowledge gap. Then channel of orientation has to also be very, very defined, and understand what works and what don't work. We have over 50 million Nigerians who do not have bank accounts, who are not banked. And these over 50 million people are the decider of the economy. These people, there are ways you cannot just do formal approach to them. You have to find a way to do informal to formal approach for them to, be able to earn the trust, have the understanding, and we have a better financial system in terms of cashless or cash economy.
Well, Hussaini Olariwaju, thank you so much. We have to let this go at this point in time because we need to join the newsroom at 9 o'clock for the news brief. We appreciate your thoughts this morning on the show. We have been speaking with Hussaini Olariwaju, who is the MD of the HAQ Technology Management Services right here in Nigeria. Thank you once again. And that's the size of our conversation this morning on the show. That's The Breakfast. We will return tomorrow. The lineup would be interesting. Now, and if you missed out on any part of it, we ask that you, follow us on different social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa, Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us. That's also on, our YouTube channel as well. My name is Messi Bopo. Have a fantastic morning.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
Nigeria has produced and continues to produce great writers who have won great accolades and recognition for their work. When discussing African literature, names like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, and Buchi Emecheta. But beyond these writers, exist modern writers redefining the fate of literature in Nigeria, Africa, and globally. 1. Chimamanda Adichie. The recipient of a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship was born on the 15th of September 1977 in Enugu, Nigeria. As a teenager, Chimamanda left for the United States and gained a scholarship to study communication at the Drexel University in Philadelphia, then pursued a degree in communication and political science at Eastern Connecticut State University. Her works have been translated into over 30 languages and has appeared in various publications, including The New Yorker, the O. Henry Price Stories, and the Financial Times. Some of her books, like The Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellowstone, and Americana, have won various awards. Her 2012 talk, We Should All Be Feminists, started a worldwide conversation about feminism and was published as a book in 2014. Tomi Adeyemi. Tomi, the author of Children of Blood and Bone, was born on August 1st, 1993, in the United States to parents who emigrated from Nigeria. After graduating Harvard University with an honors degree in English literature, she received a fellowship to study West African mythology, religion, and culture in Salvador, Brazil. Her debut novel, Children of Blood and Bone, has spent over 2 years on the New York Times bestseller list, and its film adaptation is currently in active development with Disney's Fox and Lucasfilms. She was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. She is a Hugo and Nebula award-winning Nigerian-American writer and storyteller based in Los Angeles, California. In 2020, she was named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 in media, and her website has been named one of the best websites for writers by Writers Digest. Teju Cole. Teju Cole is a novelist, photographer, and curator. He was born in 1975 in the U.S. He is currently the Gore Vidal Professor of the Practice of Creative Writing at Harvard University. His novella, Every Day is for the Thief, was named a Book of the Year by the New York Times, The Globe and Mail, NPR, and The Telegraph, and shortlisted for the PEN Open Book Award. Another one of his books, Open City, also featured on numerous Book of the Year lists and won the Penn Hemingway Award, the New York City Book Award for Fiction, and was shortlisted for the National Book Critics Circle Award and the New York Public Library Young Lions Award. Teju Cole has contributed to New York Times, The New Yorker, Granta, Brick, and many other magazines. Akwekwe Emezi. Born 1987, Emezi is a National Book Foundation 535 honoree. She was born in Umuahia and raised in Aba, Nigeria. Her adult novel, The Death of Vivek Oji, was a New York Times bestseller, an indie bestseller, and an indie next selection, receiving rave reviews from the New York Times, USA Today, NPR, the LA Times, and the Washington Post. Her debut autobiographical novel, Freshwater, is in early development as a TV series at FX, with Emezi writing and producing with Tamara P. Carter. Translated into 12 languages, Freshwater won the 2019 Otherwise Award, formerly the Tiptree and the Normal Book. It was a New York Times notable book, as well as a finalist for the Center for Fiction's First Novel Prize, the Penn Hemingway Award, the NYPL Young Lions Fiction Award, the Edmund White Award for Debut Fiction, and a Lambda Literary Award. Beyond these writers are more individuals, old and young, using the power of the pen and ink to change the face and narrative of the country and the continent.
Good morning, I am Messi Boko. This is a news brief. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has warned Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, against inciting violence over the outcome of the presidential election. Mahmoud spoke in Washington during its official engagement with some international media organization on the just concluded 2023 polls. The minister accused Obi of inciting people to violence while seeking redress in court over the outcome of the elections. In a recent interview, Dati Baba Ahmed, vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, has said Bola Tinubu did not meet the constitutional requirement to become Nigeria's president. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has condemned the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, over the alleged incitement on Nigeria's democratic institution. Mohammed had faulted Obi's post-election tactics of seeking redress in court on the one hand and inciting people to violence. On the other hand, reacting to the allegation, Obi took to his Twitter page and described Mohammed's comment on his personality as clumsy campaign. He said that the Labour Party candidate has never encouraged anyone to undermine the Nigerian state and its democratic institution. Meanwhile, the Labour Party youth across the country have warned those calling for the arrest of the presidential candidate, Peter Obi, to stop fought with the national youth leader, Kennedy, wondered why those who were declared winner in the poll, rather than celebrating, should be calling for the arrest of those that snatched their mandate. Meanwhile, the party's House of Assembly candidate in the just concluded elections in Imo State say the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is frustrating their efforts in reclaiming their stolen mandate in court. They say INEC has refused to provide them with certified true copy of the electoral materials to enable them file their case in court within the stipulated time.
Of corruption. Each of us have submitted our letters in Abuja for certified true copy of the back-end result of the BVAS, because we know that BVAS and the IREV are integral part of this election. Most of us went for review. They said they have 7 days review in Abuja and went and submitted the application. We learned that the review committee finished their report, submitted it, but it was not signed, and they told us that we can approach the court. So what we are saying is that some of us, our results are clear on the IREV. Like my result, I want clear on the IREV, and we believe that all those people that want clear on the IREV, the judiciary should look into it and make sure that they are returned. The monstrous activities and complicity of the Imo State Rec, we are calling for her immediate sack, investigation and prosecution, because she showed glaring signs of corruption, incompetence, total disregard to the ordinances of the Electoral Guidelines and the Electoral Act. It is no longer news that the Imo Rec, for the period of the 2 elections, was seen holding meetings with the agents of APC, from where she took instructions to carry out her hatchet jobs against Imo people, and only visited her office at Port Harcourt Road with heavy security personnel provided by the APC government in Imo State.
It's interesting to see the APC state managing all manner of business propaganda to misrepresent our collective sense of equity and justice. By this press briefing, we, the Nigerian youth, demand that 1, the various call for the arrest of Mr. Peter Obi and that Baba Ahmed should stop forthwith, as we, the obedient Nigerian youth, have cast our final hope on the judiciary.
Members of the House of Representatives are divided over the call for interim by some Nigerians, as reported by the Department of State Services Security last week. The motion was sponsored by Honorable Idem Unyeme at plenary. Details in this report.
Coming under matters of urgent public national importance, the lawmaker urged the House to condemn the call by some Nigerians for the composition of an interim government to those detention arising from the outcome of the just concluded presidential election.
The people that are making this call, I see them as the enemies of this country. These people don't have the interest of this country, and I believe their acts is unpatriotic.
However, members of the opposition demanded that the Department of State Security, which released a report, should name and make arrest instead of grandstanding.
This government is lied to its responsibility. It is alive to its responsibility. This should not even be an issue that will be dissipating energy on in this house. People are dying every day in this country. Killed by bandits, killed by hunger. Go to hospitals, they cannot be attended to. Children cannot even afford to go to school. We are debating what is not in this house. Do we even have a government in this country? If the government cannot perform between now and May 28, they should resign and go. This National Assembly and zero down to House of Rep
is the temple of democracy. Can the temple of democracy discuss what is not passed? Can the temple of democracy discuss issues that are not available? The question is, this garment of everything, this motion, is centered on what speculation?
For members of the ruling party, the call is the right one if the 2-decade-old democracy in the country must be sustained.
Nigerians have the characteristics when they lose out. They want things to be taken back to the melting pot so that everybody will put his spoon and try his luck. This will not happen. Every lover of this country, every participant in this democratic process must fight this, because it will take us 2.5 decades back.
You want to wait until that happened? The DSS came up, they said they are suspecting people. If they have not measured, you cannot ask them to measure that because they are technical. They are technocrat, they know what they are doing. They don't know the time to come up and say this is the situation. You cannot teach them what to do. They have been trained and retrained, and that is their job.
Nigeria is bigger than individuals. You must have a country for you to rule. And if you are saying these kind of things, and you do not know who is interpreting it the way they are interpreting it, and then you do not want DSS to do their work, and of course their work is to collect intelligence for good governance and for national safety and security.
The motion was adopted by a majority voice vote when put to vote by the presiding Deputy Speaker, Idris Wase.
Following the recent claims by Department of State Services, DSS, people seeking interim government in the country, the Edo State Deputy Governor Shuaib Philip has tasked the secret police to parade those involved within 3 days. Shuaib shared his thoughts while playing host to the leadership of Nigerian Youth Council, explaining that such allegation is too weighty to be treated with kid's glove.
I was listening to the other day, they say SSS said some people want to overthrow government. Some people are planning to have interim government. This is another lie. I challenge SSS, it's another lie from the pit of hell. These are just distraction, complete distraction. I've never seen a security service that will be raising alarm over nothing. We are supposed to be seeing who they have arrested, paraded, and we are seeing that these people have been arrested for doing X, Y, Z. Interim government is treasonable. It's against the law. So, and if a security service will be the one raising alarm and there's no proof, then you know that they are collaborating with those that have stolen our mandate. We should not listen to them.
Members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Rivers State have continued their protest in Port Harcourt, the state capital, at the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, over the inspection of materials used in the last general elections. Now, the protest was joined by more state assembly members, including the leader of the House and also the deputy speaker, amongst others. The government was also reported that in addition to the demands for joint inspection of electoral demands and issuance of certified true copies of results sheets, the PDP is demanding the arrest of the All Progressive Congress APC governorship candidate, Tonya Cole, for alleged murder.
2019 recall, it was the same Tonya Cole that shed innocent blood in Abonima. We mourned our brothers and sisters. He's not tired. He has come again yesterday and has killed one of us. Must Tonya Cole always be known for killing? No. We go agree? No. That is why from here we are moving straight to the Commissioner of Police. We have registered our petition yesterday. Today, after INEC will sleep in the Commissioner of Police office, Tonya Cole, who does not enjoy immunity, must be arrested and prosecuted. Yes. Not so. That's so. Will sleep in Moscow Road. Commissioner of Police must arrest him today. Yes. Because we don't know what to tell the family of the dead PDP supporter. The wife and children are crying at the hospital. Why? must we continue to put our hands and allow criminals who stole our money because they are using dogs in arms? Nigerian police must rise on the occasion if they're impartial. We are ready to die for our rights. We are ready to die to defend our mandate. Enough is enough.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Rivers State has requested the cooperation of all political parties seeking the inspection of election materials used in the February 25th and March 18, 2023 polls, saying it will discharge its constitutional and lawful duties without preference or bias. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in the state, Johnson Sinikem, in a statement said about 50 applicants were received or applications were received for inspection of election materials. For days now, members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the All Progressive Congress, APC, have clashed at INEC office in the state over the inspection of election materials. However, INEC Commissioner in the state said although the application of certified true copies of document and access for inspection of election materials are the legitimate entitlement of candidates and parties to the election petitions. They are, however, governed by process and procedures which include payment of requisite fees, making copies and photocopies of relevant document, and certification by authorized officials of the Commission. 3 senators elect, 10 members of the House of Representatives and State Assembly in Kaduna PDP have vowed to reclaim their stolen mandate at the March 28 elections in court. The party described the certificate of return given to the APC governor-elect Uba Sani as a temporary certificate, alleging that there were lots of infractions during the polls. Speaking at the meeting with party chieftain, state chairman of the party, Honorable Hassan Haid Sethi, were all agreed to work with unanimously until the governorship mandate is reclaimed. Now, some of the senators elect promised their support. Meanwhile, the Kaduna state government has confirmed that only 8 students were abducted along with other citizens. It, however, said that they were not kidnapped in the school compound. On Monday, gunmen whisked 10 victims from Government Day Secondary School in Awo Kachi local government area of Kaduna state. The abduction is the latest onslaught lauded by gunmen that have wreaked havoc in the northwestern state despite the efforts of the state government and security agencies. But the state government in its update said it's received details and reports from security agencies on the incident, explaining that the students were not kidnapped within the school premise. The Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arowan, said the students were on their way home from school when they met bandits who abducted them and other residents. The Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, says traditional rulers need to be assigned constitutional roles in security and governance architecture of the country if it wants to tackle the emerging and contemporary security challenges. The Oni spoke at the 2023 exercise lecture series that was organized by the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Kaduna State. He stressed that the failure of security agencies and government to assign specific constitutional roles to traditional rulers were largely responsible for the lingering insecurity in the country.
Is so relevant. It's about time we actually implement and involve traditional institutions for us to settle the menace of security challenges in our country. The current president, President Muhammadu Buhari, is very, very in tune with traditional institutions and also doing his best to work with the traditional institution. But to us, the best is not good enough. The best should actually be very visible. The best should be to entrench traditional institutions in the system, in the governance of this country, also to put traditional institutions in our constitution.
President Muhammadu Buhari has named a newly commissioned National Counter-Terrorism Center after Jordan King Abdullah bin Al-Hassan. The senior special assistant to President Garba Shehu announced this in a statement explaining that the Nigerian leader also had a phone conversation with Al-Hassan. Both leaders expressed satisfaction at the deepening of the Nigerian-Jordan strategic partnership with matters of security and other global issues. Buhari collaborated and shared Nigeria's experience with Jordan in tackling terrorism and its spread across West Africa. In Benue State, the Police Community Relations Committee, PCRC, is seeking the support of journalists in order to achieve effective policing and also the fight against crime and criminality. This was contained in a statement delivered by the PCRC on a courtesy visit on Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Benue State chapter. Now, Plus TV News correspondent Falson, this report has been presented in our studio.
The chairman of the Police Community Relations Committee, who represented the national chairman, said the concept cannot be complete without the journalists, who serve as a link between the police and the citizens.
So, because of that, Melga said, no, we must bring press into this system now. In Zone 4, we must partner with the press. And in the promotion of the image of police and PCRC in the zone. And the national chairman have directed me that as soon as I'm in touch with the LUJ chairman, it should be enlisted immediately into the system as Zone 4. The same as replicated in Plateau and the same in the northern states.
Representative of the Inspector General of Police, in his goodwill message, appreciated the journalists for their support thus far and asked for more to enable the police to succeed in fighting crime in the society.
And for us, for the public, to know what the police are doing, we need the press, we need the journalists. That is what we have come here today to ensure that we partner with Nigerian Union of Journalists in this chapter and to enlighten, to help spread the good news of the police to the journalists, so that you help represent the police in good light and members of the public. And that is why we have the PCRC chairman here, who has come to solicit for your membership and the membership of your entire ESCO to be part of the Public Police Community Relations Committee.
In a speech, the NUJ chairman thanked the Inspector General and the PCRC for the visit, promising that his members will continue to do what is best for the society.
I also want to assure you that we are part of the society. We understand the society. We feel the pulse of the members of the public. Not just about you, about any other thing that's happening in society. So we know, just like we'll be trying to publicize about you to the public, we equally bring to you what are the impressions of the public about you and where you need to make adjustments for necessary changes so that you can be better suited to the society, and that will also help you to police the society better than you do right now.
The PCRC, however, said it has established a journalist unit for practicing journalists across the country. It is a platform established to garner support from citizens other than the police and police and the society.
And to other parts of Africa, the European Union says any decision to normalize relations with the Ethiopian government will depend on how successful efforts are at resolving the conflict in northern Tigray region. And after the civil war broke out in November 2020, the EU suspended budgetary support citing human rights abuses. Now, Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the progress on ending the conflict was a rare example of good news in the world. He said that the gradual normalization of relations with Ethiopia was dependent on how the peace process develops. And outside Africa, after Finland joins NATO, he says it is also very deliberate in ensuring that Sweden has his membership of NATO as well. The president said shortly after his country formally became the 31st country to join the Atlantic Alliance. Finland and Sweden applied together to join NATO following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Of NATO's existence members, Hungary and Turkey have still to ratify Sweden's membership application.
This is a process from 30 to 31, and like you said, very nearby future to 32. That is that we work for Swedish membership very hard. We are doing that together with them, together with you, and that will continue. From Finnish point, also Swedish membership is most important. We have all the way been working together with Sweden. We continue helping them as much as possible. I have been discussing with President Erdogan. You have been discussing many times, and I think at least I have a very positive outlook for that.
Nothing should hinder or be an obstacle for also the final ratification of also Sweden to become a member. This is a top priority for the alliance. This is important for me personally, and all allies agree that we should try to finalize the accession also of Sweden as soon as possible.
And in entertainment news, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has granted bail to relationship expert Blessing Okoro for alleged cyberbullying. The Nigerian police force had arraigned Blessing Okoro, also known as Blessing CEO, before Justice Yelim Bogoro of the Federal High Court on 6-count bordering on alleged cyberbullying, libel, for exhibiting uncensored movie. The judge granted Blessing CEO bail in absence of opposition. She was admitted to 10 million naira bail, each with 2 shorties in like sum. And in sports news, Nigerian forward Ademola Lookman has become the first player in 70 years to score 13 goals in his first season at an Italian Serie A club in Atlanta. Lookman achieved his feat after scoring his 13 league goals in Atlanta's 3-1 win over the Serie A fixture played game Saturday. The winger has this season. Woman, thanks for watching.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We the youth are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
When you hear of drug abuse, what comes to your mind?
When we say drug abuse, it seems like something that is so distant, but it's happening every day in our homes.
1 in every 4 persons has mental illness.
Regardless of your notion of what drug abuse is, you are sure to get the right meaning here. Welcome to Regardless, an anti-drug abuse television show put together by Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry.
Regardless, the anti-drug abuse show, airing on Plus TV Africa every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
Good morning and welcome to your favorite sport program on TV.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Cancer with Dr. Denise Ejo, CEO of Cornwood Cancer Foundation, in partnership with Plus TV Africa. I want to thank you all for joining us again today. I hope you have been enjoying yourself, and as we look forward, or we are in our electoral